And I'm just honored to be here and to be, sharing what I've spent my life doing and had a passion about dance and moving. Um, and brain health. And so before we kind of get started, just a few kind of ground rules. We talked a little bit about how if you want to be off camera or turn that off, that is completely okay because it's important as we're exploring movement. It's easy to feel self-conscious about our bodies, how we move, and what I'm going to be doing is actually pushing um, into the body's kind of new things for you, brain and body connection that you're not going to be able to do right off the bat. And that's actually where some of the brain health component comes in. And my understanding, and Alice could tell us more about this, but that when we're learning new movements, and especially if we're frustrated, if we can't do it and we keep on pushing and keep on trying, that place of engagement, wonderful chemicals are released in the brain that help strengthen and repair and allow that new pattern to be put anywhere it's needed in the brain, crossing the meridian, doing all kinds of things, connecting parts. And it's something we tend to do less as we get older. We tend to do less new movements and we stop even doing the ones we've been doing. So keeping that richness of learning and exploring is important. But I like to do it through the lens of play and fun. And that gets us to the happiness because it can also be frustrating. When we have to do something we can't, we can get frustrated. And so a part of the Coordi too is trying to reframe what success means. We kind of know. I started out as a gymnast. And when you walk in to learn something new in gymnastics, there's mats all over the floor. What does that mean? It means you're expected to fail. You're going to fall down. It's there. You're going to be safe even when you fall down. And you're going to try it 50 times before you ever do it right once. And then another 10, you might get it right again. And eventually you learn it and then you own that. But that is the process of learning for everything. And I think we have this perfectionistic society that makes us feel like we have to do it right away. And it's embarrassing to be failing in front of others. And I'm passionate about reframing that for everybody, that it is how we learn from each thing. If it goes wrong, it's really only a loss if you don't learn from it and learn how next time we're calibrating all the time. We're taking information in. And when it comes to happiness, our bodies and how we feel in our bodies is a huge component of that. And it can be really easy as a dancer, we would almost always have something that hurts. There would always be some kind of chronic thing that we'd be nursing along, something that's getting worse and something we're finally getting over. And there was layers of injury and pain that we would have to manage. And it was easy to start to see the body as an enemy. And I learned early on that it was important for me to see my body as my partner, and I needed to listen. Like any good partner, communication is the key thing. And I learned to listen more, and I learned to respect. And that little thing that when I was 20, that calf strain that would annoy me for 2 days and go away on its own. Now I got to take 2 weeks off for that to heal, and the discipline of that, and the listening, and the accepting of that. So we're going to do things to kind of tune in and calibrate and integrate our body, and also working a lot with balance, because that's another thing. If we don't feel safe in our balance, again, it's hard to feel safe in life. And to trust the body is a place that we can then start to feel happy within the body and experience those sensations. So that's kind of the groundwork. We're going to start out. I'm going to back up here, and we're going to be doing some things sitting down and standing up. But I wanted to start just sitting, and some people may not want to transition to standing, and that's okay. Pretty much everything can be adapted um, to a sitting. And if anybody has any kind of injuries, things that you're bringing into this, things that are a challenge or a pain, just honor those, listen to those. Don't do anything that hurts. And anything that I give, it's meant to be adapted for what you need to do. And if you need to change the range of something, if my arm is going up and yours can't, we'll just do a low version of that. Or, do it with your foot rather than your hand. I mean, there's all kinds of ways to be creative on that. So um, in the smaller Cordy class, I can tend to give that feedback, but I just invite you to own this experience and do it for yourself in all those different ways. So I want to just start out by when I would do a dance performance that included choreography where I had a lot of different things going on at once, and I call that the polyrhythmic coordinations within dance. It's kind of like the dancing version of this. I would always do a little kind of thing for the audience to get them to kind of try a few coordinations to kind of appreciate what's tricky about. So I'm going to start out with what I would do normally for an audience, and we'll kind of go a little deeper, of course, than I would with an audience. But we'll start out with doing the body puzzle that's the most famous, where you're rubbing your stomach and patting your head. So I'm going everybody just do this classic of coordination, right? So you may have always done it with the same hand on the stomach. So now I want you to just take and reverse the hands and put the other hand on top. That one is now tapping and the other one is circling. So you may never ever reverse that. And so now we're going to do one more circle over the head and pat the stomach. And there's another, each time there's a little bit of rewiring, but these are similar ingredients. And so you're probably pretty successful there. So now we're going to try something else. With one hand, let's just take a line up and down. All right, so we've got that, just a line, simple up and down. Good. Now put that hand down. Now with the other hand, we're going to do a right triangle. So the hand goes down, sideways out, and up, and down. So we've got that going. So both of those things are very simple to do. So what we're going to do now, start at the top, we're going to do our line and our triangle at the same time. And all of a
Oh,
sudden, these two things
oh,
that were easy, and I hear a couple giggles anywhere I do this in the world. There is always laughter at that point. People are surprised that they can't just do the thing. And these are both, why can't I do this? When we encounter our body in a fresh way, with a fresh challenge. Luckily, hopefully the first response isn't like getting down on yourself. It's kind of like, oh, what's going on here? And let's try another one. So make a nice sharp square with one hand, right? Now to that sharp square, I want to see if you can add a smooth circle. Now, this one, if you're struggling, and you probably are, is even harder because they've got two different sensations. As soon as you do a smooth feeling and a sharp one, that's another challenge for the brain. As soon as I change speeds, that's yet another, or directions, another challenge for the brain. And if you can't do this right now, that means you're normal because we're not trained to do that. When I was first doing a dance that was exploring kind of square and circular shapes within the body and different ways I could do it. And I all of a sudden discovered I couldn't do that on the right and the left side of the body. And so I thought of this idea of the square and the circle. And I thought, well, how long will it take me to be able to do that? And I timed myself, and it took me 20 minutes sitting there nonstop, just working on a square and a circle. And then it became natural. And I realized there's this pushing through. There's this sense of the frustration you get, and then there's this release, and it goes from the brain into the body's intelligence, and then it's something we own. Like when you're driving a stick shift car, if those of you who learned that, there's a lot going on. The feet are doing separate things. You've got the stick shift, you're steering. Hopefully, you're checking for traffic. It takes a while before you can actually text while you're doing all of that to add another thing in, but eventually you can, right? But it's amazing. That's the power of the body, is being able to get these things integrated and automatic. Now, we learn in different ways. Everybody learns in different ways. So let's um, we're going to try now a line and a square. Okay. So first, let's just have squares on both sides. So just falling down, out, up, and in. And now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to have a line up and down with this hand, and the other hand is going to do the square. So then we have this. It goes down, out, up, and back in. And this is at the edge where things start to get kind of tricky and takes a little, and if I do it to the other side, a little extra organization. Now, when I was a dancer, I would notice there were different kinds of learners, and there were the photocopiers. There were the people that would just, you don't try to explain to them, just show it to them, and they're going to take it in through those mirror neurons, and it comes out their body. It's amazing. So what we're going to try that kind of learning. So I want you to just watch the screen and put your hands up like you're facing my hands, and just sort of track them here, right? And so now just follow. I'm not going to talk, just kind of track. I'm going to have that line going out, and you're just following along, tracking my hands. I'm going to do the square on the other side now, and you're tracking it, right? One more time on the other side here, and you're just following. You're not thinking, you're just following along. Okay, now I want you to continue trying to do that by yourself now. See if you can do, it's very different when we follow and when we have to then self-actuate, when we have to make that. happen. And you may be finding, oh, that's all of a sudden harder. And this is where the opposite of the photocopier is the data input person. And we all have a little bit of both of these, but I tend to be more the second kind of learner. So what I would be doing is trying to make correlations, to intellectually make a structure that I can organize this. So let's just come up with one way I might do that. So I can drop my hands, then I can think I'm going to take them to opposite corners of like a box. And then they're going to change places to the other opposite corners and come back together where we started. So they drop together, opposite corners, switch corners, come together. So now try that on your own and see if that makes a difference, adding that sort of intellectual template. And as a dancer and a mover, that's what I was always looking for, how I can add a structure that can help me organize the information, because those structures don't apply to just one thing. I can then take and apply those to other things that help me kind of learn and build on the learning that I kind of have going there. So let's now, when I'm doing work with the body, I like to start from the place of like clearing the palate. So what we're going to do now is a little bit of a meditation. Um, or I've had a meditation practice since I was 15, and have found that has really influenced my dancing and how I work with breath and with the body. It's been really fundamental to how I've been able to do that. But just starting at this place where we kind of um, clear out all the noise in the body. So I want you to just sit with your back away from the back of the chair, so your spine is kind of straight, and hands resting on your lap. And if everybody can just check that you have your sound muted, because we are recording, and there it just helps us kind of have a clean recording. So just do a double check there. Thank you. Um, Now close the eyes and just feel your spine straight. And I want you to have the image that you're underwater, warm, supportive water, and that your head is filled with air. So there's a sense of this gentle kind of tugging upwards, keeping your spine straight. And maybe there's a little movement in the water, so that maybe there's a little bit like a stalk of kelp. Your spine can just slightly move. And just notice if you drop your chin, it wants to pull your body forward. If I lift my chin, at a certain point, it wants to drop me back. And where's that place right in the middle that you can place your head, you can balance your head poised on top of the spine, so that you can release as many muscles as possible. So when we stack the bones, the muscles don't have to work. And so just finding that effortless alignment. And I want you just now scan the body. Is there something you bring in today? Is there a place that needs some support, some extra attention? Just kind of notice that and scan the body. Maybe something else surprises you or bringing in, or a tiredness. And then turn your attention to your breath and just observe it. You don't need to control it, just observing it naturally dropping in and out. It's one of those unconscious things that we don't have to micromanage or think about. It just happens on its own, and we can trust that, which is a good thing. So now we'll take a slightly deeper breath. So we're going to take the air out and just kind of breathing in for maybe 3 seconds in. 1, 2, and suspend it for 3, 2, 3, flowing out. 2, 3, and stay. 2, 3, flowing in for 3. Just suspending the breath there, flowing out, and just staying in that still place without the breath. Continuing that rhythm on your own. And you can adjust the tempo if it feels better. You can always adjust things how they work better for you. And now just feeling how you drop deeper into the chair as the breath drops out. And I want you to know if you have a place that you've been working with that need some extra support, try breathing through that place. So if you breathe in, so the small of my back, I sometimes have some issues. So I can imagine breathing in through that space, breathing in cool air, and it moves up my spine to the crown of my head as I breathe in, and it warms there. And as I breathe out, that warm air flows through that place, energizing and healing. So just take a couple breaths where you pick a place and you breathe through and support that spot in your body. Now, as I was thinking about this class, you can either drop your breath to just observing, and you can keep the flowing breath going. That's your choice. I was thinking about what is happiness? How do we define that? What does it even mean? And I kind of thought about a few different kinds of happiness, and I'm sure there's more than I thought of, or more ways to feel that. One of them was what we think of like the surprise party. Something exciting happens and everybody, and or you win a race and then maybe you're happy, or you get a job, some accomplishment. There's that kind of happiness that comes from an event. Um, there's there's a kind of happiness that comes from winning something. If we're competing, getting like, something like that's a different kind of joy. We jump up and down, and you see that in the Olympics. I love watching the Olympics for the physical displays of pure emotion of the body. Whether they win or they lose, the body doesn't lie, and it's always beautiful in its own way. But feeling that emotion in the body. So another kind of happiness is peace. And that's the one when we're down deep, when we just feel a sense of satisfaction and peace. And that can turn into a kind of divine joy at its deepest level. And that to me is a beautiful, happy place to be. So there's many different kinds of ways. So I want you to think of one kind of happiness for yourself, and maybe from your childhood, or maybe playing a game is another happy place, sliding down a hill on a sled. Think of something from your childhood, perhaps, or something that you carry now that's a happy, active kind of experience. And as you're thinking about it, I want you to imagine that place and what you're doing, and I want you to feel the body. Is there a place that happiness kind of you carry it? You know, is it in your heart? Is it in your solar plexus? Is it in the crown of your head, in your feet because you're running fast? Where do you carry this joy, the satisfaction of whatever this is, and just kind of tune into that, or pick a place to kind of carry that, to center that energy. And how does it move there? How does it live there? Is there a little dance that it likes to do there? What is the tempo of it? And if you were to take that, I want you to let your hands sort of float up off your leg. And what would the tempo of that, if you had to have that move in your body and also in your hand, what would that look like? So there's a texture to it, there's a feeling. And putting that down. Now, I want you to find another place, another image, and this time of happiness through peace. And maybe you're sitting on a beach looking at a sunset, or reading a book by a fire, or there's, sitting with a loved one, walking, holding hands, or sitting holding. What is something that brings you to that happiness born of peace? And where do you carry that? How does that place want to slowly or quickly? How does it want to move in your body? You have that place. Does it move quickly, slowly? Does it soar? Can the other hand kind of move in a way that reflects that peaceful place? And maybe stillness is its best expression. Just kind of feeling, and I want you to awaken the other one, the happy, excited one. See if you can feel now both of those places in the body at once. Can both of those little dances kind of be happening simultaneously? Or just can you imagine them both at the same time? Okay. Now, one last thing. Where is there a place, and maybe it's this place of challenge we were working with? Where is a place in the body that you carry something that is a challenge? And how does that feel in that place? And how does that place want to move? What does it want to be? How do you hold that? And I want you to feel that, and then I want you to also awaken your senses of peace at the same time. So you have that place that's maybe fighting something, and these other places that are supporting energetically and smoothly. And how do you kind of allow them to become one thing a little bit in the body? It's a game to play. It's a little discovery to find. Can you find connections, and can you find an integration of these different patterns, and to find that you can unify and release a little bit of that troublesome pattern into the flow of the breath. Allow your breath to move into this, and allowing with the breath, breathing in and allowing everything just to become one thing. As you breathe in, let the arms come out away from the body. As you breathe out, let the arms drop down. So we just had this breath. Now, one big energy. And within that, you can float and fly those places that you were carrying, the peace, the challenge, the excitement. How do they all kind of inhabit a breath? Now, with one hand, I want us to just start, actually, with both hands, start tapping. Start tapping on your legs and just awakening the legs. And you can feel that tapping, and it can go to your ribs, around to the back, and find its way to your neck and up to your skull, right? So you can just tap, 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 and we're awakening. And you can feel it in your fingertips. What's the experience for the fingertips, and what's the experience for what's being tapped? And what feels good about that? There's something pleasurable about being tapped. And now switch to just gliding and moving. So it's like you had a soft chamois or a piece of, you know, fur or something that you could just move across the body, helping you understand this is where your body ends, where space begins. And again, just kind of feeling the experience of being touched and the experience of touching. What is that? And now one of the hands, I want you to have to go to the tapping. So now we've got a tapping and a smooth touching. And can you kind of keep track of both and have them go to different places on the body? And I tend to like to do all of this with my eyes closed to kind of go to that interior world of the proprioceptive world of how we feel and experience our bodies. So just can you tune in to the tapping, the being tapped, the touching, and the being touched all at once? Good. Let your hands float up in front of you. Now, with your eyes closed, I want you to take your fingers and kind of point them forwards like you're pointing at somebody. And then I want you to take your arms out pretty straight and bring the fingertips together and see if you can touch them in front of you. And I usually miss the first time. And the calibration, then separate the fingers and just try a few times. You can kind of come diagonally. We're calibrating our sense of proprioception. Can you move the fingers apart and then have them come together and touch fingertip to fingertip? And kind of maybe off to the side of you now. Maybe they meet over there, so it's not centered. And this is harder. Boy, I completely missed. And let them flow and go to another place where they'll sort of meet. And again, we're just trying to calibrate how we feel our bodies in space. Now take one fingertip to the tip of your nose and the other one to your opposite earlobe. Right. So those are crossed. So now note which hand is on your nose. Now we're going to put both of our hands down on our legs. And now the opposite hand's going to go to the nose, and the other hand goes across to the opposite earlobe. And as I'm doing this so that I'm kind of getting my my nose finger there first, and then the other hand reaches out around. So my nose arm is inside the other one. So just dropping the hands, and this is something that's actually borrowed from Brain Gym. It's a wonderful exercise to kind of cross the meridian and organize the body. And you can just tap down and up and cross. Now, we're going to change this now. So what would it be if you first touch the earlobe and then put the arm around the outside to the nose? So the earlobe finger is on the inside of the hand. So now drop the hands and go to the other side and switch that. And this is kind of confusing the first couple times, how to get the earlobe hand to the inside and the nose on the outside. So just it's a rewiring of how you're aligning that. But I think I did it the wrong way that time. No, I didn't. I'm getting confused, which is good. That's the whole point. We're kind of rewiring things in new ways. Now, we've got our fingers going. So let's just have circles. Okay, so we have two circles going, and now have them go opposite directions, right? So they can go opposite ways. And then here we can reverse that, right? So while they're going around, can you just change the direction of one of the circles? Anytime is, and the key is, well, one, let me, I want to go slower than this. So as one is going, when one changes direction, the other one doesn't jiggle or stop. How smoothly can one circle continue while we change the direction of the other one? And it just takes a real focus in that moment when you're changing to be sure that the smooth hand that's not changing doesn't also get a little glitch in its movement. So now what we're going to do, let's do figure eights. So we just have these kind of, or an infinity sign, kind of like this. And again, I can go sort of across in parallel, or I can kind of have them go like this opposite, kind of mirror image to each other a little bit. But now what we're going to do is have one hand continue the figure eight, and the other one hand is going to do the circle. So see if you can find that pattern. This is a little tricky because as the figure eight reverses direction, it wants to pull your circle hand with it, right? So it just takes, again, a smooth flow to find that. And when you're ready, kind of change the other hand can become the figure eight hand. And the other one is the circle hand. And how you can kind of all of a sudden sort of transition from one to the other is kind of a fun game to figure out how smoothly, okay, now this one's my figure eight one. You just kind of smoothly, or maybe your figure eight is going up like an eight rather than an infinity sign. Each time we change the orientation, it takes the brain just a moment to kind of rewire things a little bit. So again, so if this is frustrating, this is inherently tricky. So be kind with yourself and know actually when you're frustrated is when you're getting the good stuff, is when you're getting this wonderful benefit for the brain and stuff. But this is kind of a gentle thing to do. Then the other thing to do, have two circles and then have one start to see if you can have one go really fast, right? And then they can come down and they can be the same speed, and then the other one can speed up, right? So we kind of playing with speed as well. They don't have to be different shapes or different, things for it to be tricky for the brain. Just having the same thing in different speeds. So again, it's like if I'm just bouncing my hands here, boom, boom. Can I do boom, boom, boom? Can I do a whole bunch of fast beats? So you're hitting one drum really fast, and the other one, boom, boom. Let's see, can I do that? Let's see if I can kind of and hit that, and I can try the other hand. Try making some noise with your things. Do a bunch of slap with one and how we can change that. Yes. So we just getting in control of different speeds and patterns like that is what I think is kind of a fun challenge. So we're going to work our way up to standing soon. If you want to, and you can also stay seated. But let's just start with a little stretch forward. I want you to just be here back and sitting straight and let your chin drop to your chest. And just let that go. And keep your shoulders where they are, but each time you breathe out, just feel like another layer of tension releases from the back of the neck. And that works all day long, all the time. You're holding your head up. These muscles just never get a break. And so for me, it's like I can do 10 breaths and every single one, I feel like something more releases. There's just always another layer of of the kind of tension onion to kind of be wound out there. But if you finally feel like you're doing some breaths and it's not going any deeper, appreciate that. And now you're going to take your hands on your knees and let those take some weight. And I want you to just let your spine start to curve in very slowly, one vertebrae at a time, kind of curling down. And your belly button kind of goes towards the back of the chair a little bit. So you're kind of getting a deep curve. And then when you've kind of curved as far as you can down that way, let yourself start to kind of bend forward. And I want you to take a deep breath and hold your breath. And you're going to sort of lean over that pillow of air, kind of laying down on your thighs so that the sort of pillow of air is between your legs and your body. And you're kind of releasing, spreading the back muscles over that pillow of air, and then let it go. And you go down a little deeper. One more time, breathe in there and hold it, and let that go. And let your head drip down. Let that hang. Shake your head, no. Shake your head, yes. One more, no. Now I want you to look up and push your knees away so you're leading with your nose, and you're going to come all the way up. So you're sort of looking up at the ceiling, and then let your nose drop to parallel and just feel yourself poised there with, again, a nice stretched spine. That sense, I love that sense of the air filled head underwater. Good. Now let's just slide a little bit. I'll back so you can see me a little bit better, more towards the edge of your chair, because we're going to come up to standing here if you're ready to do that. And I want you to tuck your feet, I'll go even further back, a little bit under your chair. So my feet are almost under my seat. So it's not a long ways to go, and my feet are just about a foot apart. And I want you to have your arms in front of you, and let's curve her back in like that cat. And what feels good about this? There's pleasure, there's happiness for me in this stretch. Just feeling those muscles release, just feels good. Now stretching arms sideways and then chest forward and pushing up and looking up. Oh, and just feeling this stretch. Right? Feels good now. Bend forward and see if you can slide forward and slide your seat just off a little bit onto your feet and then back onto the chair. So this to me, I love the image of the guys who do the ski flying, down the great big ramp, and they jump off. They're here and they launch out over those skis. It's the most like wonderful, aggressive move out into the abyss there. I've always wanted to do that. I've never had the chance, but every time I watch it, I try to uh, vicariously enjoy it with them. So we're going to try that ourselves, though. So if our arms are forward, our arms will go back, and we're just going to push forward and up, and like you're pushing out over the balls of your feet. And just feel that nice way of launching. And then let's reverse that back down. Keep the arms behind, bend the knees down. And it's when you start to get close to the chair, you reverse that and go back into the chair. So just finding this beautiful, smooth way, arms go forward, out, and flowing up and out. And then reversing that, bending your knees forward, smooth. How smoothly can you pour your weight into the chair? And then how can you pour your weight up to standing? And then here we are, standing. So let's, if you're ready to, we can take the chair away because we'll kind of do the rest of things standing. And again, there are a lot ways to accommodate and do these things sitting down if that'll be helpful. Now, when we get up to standing, something that I always like to focus on is what I call the small dance. And that's where we're standing. And I want you to just stand with your eyes closed, your feet comfortably apart. And I just want you to feel your balance. I want you to try to stand perfectly still. And you're going to notice that you can't. That these little fluctuations of movement, of balance are this is what we call the small dance. And it's happening all the time, every day. If we're not holding on to something, we're standing, this is happening. But we very rarely ever notice it because it's on this very subtle level that you have to listen for. It's like hearing your heartbeat. It's feeling this is the heartbeat of our balance. And this is a thing that I have to be a partner with my body. If I get tense and try to shut this down or micromanage it, I mess up my balance. It makes my balance worse if I try to balance. I have to allow my body to balance. Now, let your weight shift a little bit forward onto the balls of your feet and a little bit back, and just feel with the eyes closed how you can trust that you know right where the balance is. And you can go a little side, kind of make a little circle, right? We can know how we can kind of feel that and see if you can take your weight all the way over to one foot and have your arms move a little out to the side and a little in front of you. So this gets your center of gravity a little forward where we can feel that soften a little bit the leg that you're standing on and see if the other foot can be almost like the kickstand of a bike. There's almost no weight on it. Can you actually just tap that other toe a little bit? While your eyes are closed, your arms are there to help you balance. You can do a couple little taps and flow back to that foot, weight back to the center between the feet and continuing over to the other side. Then same thing on that side. Can you kind of get where you can pick up that toe, kind of tap that a little bit? Yes, good. Now, what I want us to do now is a big yawn. And this is the thing, if you just go like that stretch, like it's a big yawn. There's just nothing like it. What feels good about that? And then just keep on going. Kind of you start with that yawn, but it's the resistance, it's the stretching of one part of the body against the other that intrinsically is full of sensation. And if you move fast, you miss it. So it's really how kind of like slowly can you go, and it's pushing the body in different directions at once. It's twisting. It's allowing just to indulge the pleasure of inhabiting your body and moving muscles and moving through space. I think there's just something intrinsically joyous about that, that it feels good. Oh, it just kind of letting that flow and move. Great. Now, what we're going to do is just do a work through in the body. And I just want you to sort of rotate. So if you rotate your wrists and your hands, and at the same time kind of rotate a foot, right? And rotate the other ankle. And can you rotate a leg? So I'm just wanting rotations, right? What I can rotate this hip. What does that feel like to kind of rotate a hip, right? And can rotate the other hip, right? So how do we do that? And how about my hips? We're just going to rotate and move the hips. And while I'm doing that, I'm going to kind of roll my head. So we're going to kind of have these multiple rolling things. And then can I roll my hands while I roll my head and I roll my hips? Or I roll an elbow or a shoulder, right? What are the different things that you can roll? So kind of go with a shoulder there, right? And then maybe you can use your opposite foot and get a hand in there. So I just want you to graze, get something rolling, and then add a different thing. And so this is just a personal leg, and try this with the eyes closed now so that you start to have, and you think, oh, I haven't done this ankle in a while. How can I do that? How can I kind of feel all this good sensation, right? And now we're grounded. So bend the knees down and feel knees bent, arms a little in front of you. This is boom. This is grounded. This is safe. If this is a place, this is where the sumo wrestlers go to not get knocked over, right? And this is where we need to go to feel safe in our bodies and feel happy and safe in our bodies. But how do we arrive there? Then there's balance. So what we're going to do, I want you to get on one foot, arms out like this, and just kind of feel your balance there. What does that feel like? To just be there on one foot, and have the opposite hand, touch the opposite knee. Okay, so I can have that. So kind of feel that, and then let that twist, and I fell over, twist like this, just into that knee and then away. And let's try that on the other side. There's somebody wanting to come in. That you can touch the opposite knee and just twist that out. And this is opposition, right? When I have one side, I stay in equilibrium by counterbalancing my rotation. And tapping into this opposition is a really key thing in inhabiting our body in an aware way, right? So we have that sense I can touch the knee, I can go opposite, I can touch it and put it down, right? So we have that kind of balancing us. Now, what I want us to do is you're going to be back on that one foot, and we've kind of got that sense now. And this is one of the mechanisms I use to balance too, is how I can kind of counterbalance like that with this opposition. I want you to push up onto tiptoe, and you're not going to stay there very long. And when you lose the balance, ground. Right. So it's how we want the instinct, whatever happens, whenever we're falling, this is where our body, this is home. This is the body's automatic instinct. When we're falling, if we tense up, you're going to fall down because you've got nothing to save yourself with. What you actually have to develop is the habit to relax and ground. So let's try this again. So maybe turn on the other foot. So you're there balancing and you push up to balance and stay there. You kind of fight for it and then ground. And just knowing that place. Now, if I'm falling this way, grounding takes 2 steps, right? So this is where people, and especially if you're falling backwards, how we get ourselves back forwards is a really key thing. So getting the habit, particularly, just give yourself a chance here to be falling a little bit backwards and feel how you have to do a step to get your body back forward. This is that mechanism that we want to kind of train to become the automatic instinct. Then, we're coming up on the icy season is coming up. And so if you find yourself there, you stay on the ground. If there's an icy patch between you and your car, what you do is you stay in this place and you slide the feet. It's like skating. If you don't pick up your feet and you're transferring weight, you're not going to get that slip out. And it's the safest way, just in the deep ground, to move through that zone in order to kind of get there. And we're going to play a little game where you can kind of push up to balance. So I'm going to try to see if I can push up to, like on tiptoe there, I didn't quite get there. So then I have to think, okay, I have to push a little farther. Oh, we're a little too far. Then I have to step. I'm trying to see if I can calibrate to know where my center is, and then I take a step to wherever direction I'm falling. And this is a chance, it's a game to play of just trying to calibrate, where is my center? I didn't quite get there, so I have to go a little further. Each time we learn from it, and each time our body gets smarter. And so by building those habits and kind of playing these calibration games, we kind of get a little more confident and a little more in control as we're moving through this. Now, I want to put on some music now, and we're going to work a little bit with beat. And let me do this one. Can you all hear that music? Yeah? Okay. So you hear this beat. Boom. Boom. Can you feel that pulse? So just move side to side on the beat. Boom. And what's the pleasure of feeling beat? It's so primal and wonderful, dropping your weight. Now we're going to do it slower. I'm going to pick my weight up, 2, and drop. Pick it up and drop. Pick it up and drop. Now faster again. Drop. Little hit in between. Boom. And faster again. Feeling the release of the energy into the earth. Now, this is on the beat, so boom. That's the beat. Now there's also the off beat, which would be F, F, F. That's the off beat. It's a fun game to try to step on the offbeat. Down. So I'm feeling down on what is the upbeat of the music, which is actually kind of tricky in our brains because we're hardwired to want to go down. So I'll be on the beat again. Boom. Feel that. Boom. Down. Now I'm going to get on the offbeat. Up, down, 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 up. Boom. Can you feel that? So having that offbeat and down. So I can do a fast one, shift off. Now go fast. Boom. Even faster. So you're walking in place. Now faster than that is. Now this is what we call in ballet a bourrée. So be up on tiptoe, and these are moving really quickly. You can rotate around. Or float sideways. And I want you to now look up at the ceiling and see if you can still trust your balance. You don't have to fall backwards. Can you rotate around? Looking up at the ceiling and bend the knees down. That gets tiring on the calves. And I can do the same thing here on my heels with my flat feet and looking up. And looking down at the floor. And pushing up to the tiptoe, looking down. And looking up. And see if you can try closing your eyes while you do this a little bit. And open them and check. Periodically see where you are. But your body will balance itself with this. And we'll finish with that. Good. All right. Stop this music. Okay. Now, one more thing I want to do. We want to play. So at the beginning, we had the line in a square. We can do a line in an L. We're going to do a similar thing to that. We're going to bend our arms, and we can punch forward. And we can bend them, and they can go down. Or they can just bend and down, right? This is our first action. Just bend the arms down. Bend them down. Or I could do bend, punch, bend, down, bend, punch. I can also punch up. I can do bend, punch up. Or I can punch sideways, punch side. So I can punch up or side or front, any of those directions, right? So what we're going to do is I can also change that so one hand just does this and one's going to punch. So what I'm going to do, one hand is just going to go up and down. The other one is going to do the punch. So we'll go slow. I breathe in, we bend here, and I breathe out. One goes back down, one punches forward. Then this repeats, comes up, this comes in, and they both go down. You have to do that with the other hand. If you bend, other hand punches, this one goes down, in, and down. So one hand just does the bend, and the other hand can do a punch in some direction, right? I could punch front, side, up, or down, right? So I've got these different options, and one hand is always just going to do the bend and stretch. So let's just try that a little bit. So if we we'll start it to do a punch front and a punch from this side, a punch up and an up, a side and a side, and we'll finish there. So it goes, and this hand, we'll start with this hand on this side being the just bend and stretch. So it goes bend and it goes punch front, in and down. And we'll punch up here. Oh, sorry, I messed it up. We should do it on both sides first. Let's reset. And so here, punch front, in, and now other hand punch front here. Other hand goes front. This one goes down, and in and down. Now punching up with one end here. One goes up, in, and now other hand goes up, in. Now punch side, and here punching side, in and down, other side, out, in and down. Okay, now let's have the feet a little wider apart and just feel how you can kind of rock a little bit side to side. And we're just going to add that in with our arms bending into punches. So I do one punch, in and down, and other side. Punch in, now punching up, and one. So now we've got sort of three different things going here with our pattern, with our leg rock, and the hands doing different actions, right? So that adds another thing there. All right. Now, what I could also do is have this same action. I'm going to do the same thing with both hands, but one hand is going to wait one count before it begins. So I wait a count, and then this next one begins, and it punches front, and then it punches front, and this one comes down. So it's just one off. So it's kind of like a round, or a cannon, that the one is kind of doing the same thing, and I can do that going up, but one count later here. So it's another way to organize the same information. So a lot of patterns we do is like fractals. We have the same kind of things, but we just are using them in different ways. Or it can go side, side, and down here. When it's one off, it has that feeling. So let's do step and touch, step and touch. Just bend the arms and down, and boom. Now I'm going to add a punch, and here one punch, in and down. Other hand goes punch, in, punching up, boom, goes up, and other hand punches up. Now I'm going to wait a hand. I'm going to wait this one, boom, in and down, boom, front, chain. And now if this is frustrating, that's okay. You can make up your own version of that, come to terms with this. Now, at a certain point, it's important to learn how to self-regulate. I've given you way more information than you can possibly integrate in this hour, right? Without being mad at me, destroying your happiness. But what I want you to do is, what are the things that are making sense? What feels good? What can you own? And what can you play with? Because ultimately, for me, when I'm playing, I'm happy. I like that place of exploration, of curiosity, of play. And that's what this can be. So I'm going to put on, this is the last thing we're going to do to music. I'm going to put on some music, and I'm going to start kind of leading something. But I want you to just start to feel body moving, legs moving in space, hearing music. What is the play and the fun in that for you? Not for me. It's not for anybody else. And I think we use this one. So just feel this. Oh. Touch. Oh. Just feeling the beat. Touch. And I can do a step and punch. Step and step. Punch. Punching up. Oh. One off. So just now, play. You can follow me, but I'm starting to just improvise a little bit with these ingredients. And then you can also try stepping on the offbeat. Which is really hard. And back on the beat. Just feeling that beat. And there's a pleasure in shifting speed. I can go all of a sudden slow and slow. Feel that one, then faster. Boom. Double it up again. And let your arms just move. How do they want to be? Don't worry, just punch. Just feel movement. You can organize it if you want, but we've moved past the patterns of this is what you're supposed to do and what you're not. Good. The open road is where I roam. Okay. And let's come back to stillness. So for now, I'll take it slow. And I'm going to turn that music off and just go back to the small dance, closing the eyes And I want you to observe your body now. And just how does it feel different than it did when we started? How is your heart beating? How is your balance? Where's your sense of peace? We're going to do one last breathing thing. I call this the breath cycle with energy. And I'm going to show you one time. We're going to do it 3 times together. Here's the pattern. I start with my knees bent and my arms down, and I'm going to breathe in, feeling like I'm gathering all of the energy around me, breathing in. Then I'm going to breathe out, and I'm going to pull that energy into my core. I breathe in, I reach back up. I breathe out, I take all that energy down into the earth, and I breathe in, pull it up from the earth, all that beautiful energy, and then releases. It's like it cleanses me, release everything I don't need, goes back out into the earth. So that's the full cycle. We'll do this 3 times together, and then we're going to finish up at the end, going into the small dance, one last reflection, and we will be done. Okay, so here we go. Our 3 cycles: breathing in, reaching up, gathering, breathing out, pulling the energy in, breathing in, gathering it up, breathing out down into the earth, breathing in, pull it in, and release it all. Again, in, reaching out and down, pull it in and up. One last time in your own tempo with the eyes closed. And once that's done, stretch the knees one last time back to that small dance, that neutral, and just feel all that energy now. Just, it feels like a million fireflies to me, just flying around in my body. And that energy is always there. That joy, that peace is always there inside of us that we can find, we can draw upon with breath, with intention, and reset ourselves and be ready for more day, more life. So thank you.